You see, when you reach a certain stage in life, something very powerful happens. The world slows down for you, but your mind may still run in 1,000 directions. At that stage, many people live in regret, in comparison, or in expectations from others. But the truth is simple and liberating. Old age is not a time to run after the world. It is the time to return back to yourself. In youth, we are taught to work for others, to build careers, to raise families, to care for responsibilities. And yes, that is beautiful. But in old age, when the children are grown, when the career is over, when the world no longer demands your energy like before, it is a crime against your own soul to still keep pouring yourself out for everyone else while forgetting yourself. This stage of life is not about competing, not about proving, not about controlling. It is about realizing that peace is found in simplicity, in stillness, in taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. If you continue to chase recognition, approval, or control in old age, you will remain restless. But if you begin to invest in yourself, your health, your inner joy, your connection with the divine, you will experience the kind of peace that no wealth, no applause, no external achievement can ever give. Think about it. You spent decades trying to fulfill everyone's expectations. Parents, children, bosses, society. But in the end, who will stay with you every single moment of your journey? Only you, your own heart, your own breath, your own mind. Shouldn't that be where the focus lies? Many elders make the mistake of constantly worrying about what their children are doing, how the world is changing, or what people will think of them. My dear friends, this is wasted energy. The younger generation has their journey to walk. Let them walk it. Your journey now is inward. The greatest gift you can give to your family and the world is not control, not complaints, not expectations, but your own inner peace and happiness. When they see you content, joyful, and spiritually strong, it becomes a silent blessing for them. So, in old age, love yourself enough to choose rest over restlessness. Love yourself enough to forgive the past and let go of bitterness. Love yourself enough to smile at the small joys of life. A sunrise, a prayer, a simple meal, a quiet walk. Focus only on yourself, because when you heal, when you grow, when you radiate peace, you automatically uplift everyone around you. Remember, you are not being selfish by focusing on yourself in old age. You are being wise. The world doesn't need another worried elder. The world needs elders who shine with calmness, wisdom, and joy. That is your real duty now, not to sacrifice, not to struggle, but to live as an example of peace. So today, make this choice. In old age, don't waste time chasing what doesn't matter. Don't waste time controlling what is not in your hands. Focus only on yourself, your health, your heart, your connection with the divine. And in doing so, you will not only make your last chapters beautiful, but you will also leave behind a legacy of peace that will inspire generations to come. Because the truth is simple. When you focus on yourself, you give the best gift to others, a happier, wiser, more peaceful you. Old age is not for chasing the world, but for returning to yourself. This is a truth that many people discover too late in life, and by the time they realize it, they have already wasted so many years living in regret, worry, or comparison. When we are young, life is full of ambition. We dream big, we run fast, we work hard to create a name, to earn, to build, to establish. And in that stage of life, it is natural. Youth is the time to sow seeds, to take risks, to build families, to create stability. But once that stage has passed, once the responsibilities are fulfilled, once the career has seen its journey, once the children have found their own paths, old age comes as a gift, a second chance to live for yourself. Sadly, most people misunderstand this stage. Instead of looking inward, instead of finding peace, they keep running outward, trying to control others, trying to hold on to what is slipping, trying to live the same way they did in youth. And this is where the restlessness begins. Old age is not about chasing after the world anymore. You have done that. You have lived decades giving to others, sacrificing, carrying responsibilities on your shoulders. Now is the time to breathe, to rest, to discover who you are when there is no role to play, no race to win, no expectations to fulfill. You see, the greatest tragedy of life is that we spend so much time running after things outside of us that we forget to discover the treasure inside us. And when the body grows old, when energy becomes less, when the world stops needing us as much, that treasure is waiting to be found. This is the time when you can finally sit with yourself, reflect on your journey, and embrace the peace that comes from simply being, not always doing. But many people resist this truth. They still keep comparing their lives with others. They still complain about how their children don't give them enough time. They still cling to regrets about the past or worries about the future. And in doing so, they make their own hearts heavy. Old age is not meant for heaviness. It is meant for lightness. The art of living in this stage is learning to let go of control, let go of regrets, let go of bitterness. The more you hold on, the more restless you become. The more you release, the more peaceful you feel. This is why it is said, old age is not about chasing the world, it is about returning to yourself. Think of a tree. In its early years, it struggles to grow roots, to spread branches, to fight storms, to stand strong. But when it becomes old, it does not keep forcing itself to grow higher and higher. It simply stands in grace, offering shade, offering stillness, being what it is. In the same way as human beings, our younger years are about growth and struggle. But our later years should be about peace and contentment. If the tree tried to compete with a young sapling, it would break itself. If an old man or woman tries to live in competition like the young, they will only find pain. The wisdom of old age is learning that your race is not outward anymore. It is inward. When you focus on yourself in old age, you are not being selfish. You are simply honoring the truth of this stage of life. Taking care of your health, nurturing your mind, feeding your soul with spiritual practice, surrounding yourself with positivity, these are the real priorities now. You no longer need to prove yourself to the world. You no longer need to run after recognition. You no longer need to carry every burden. You need to sit with yourself, heal yourself, love yourself. Because if you don't, no one else can do it for you. Your children may love you, but they cannot live inside your mind. Your friends may care for you, but they cannot take away your regrets. Only you can bring peace to yourself by choosing to stop chasing what no longer matters. And here lies the beauty. When you focus on yourself, you actually become a blessing for others. Your children do not want to see you constantly worried or complaining. They want to see you peaceful and happy. Your family does not need another lecture from you. They need your calm presence. When you radiate joy and peace, you silently inspire others without even speaking. Old age is not the end of life. It is the beginning of a deeper life. It is the chapter where your wisdom shines, where your soul takes center stage. But for that to happen, you must stop chasing the outside world and start returning to your inner world. Do not waste your old age worrying about what people think of you. People will always think, they will always talk, and they will always forget. What matters is what you think about yourself when you are alone. Do not waste your old age comparing yourself with others. Comparison is the thief of joy at any age, but in old age it is especially destructive. You are not meant to compete anymore, you are meant to complete yourself. And do not waste your old age living in regrets. The past is gone, and no amount of thinking can change it. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and free yourself. You deserve peace. Old age can either be a prison or a paradise. It depends on where your focus lies. If your focus is on what you no longer have, you will live in pain. If your focus is on what you still have, your breath, your wisdom, your faith, your presence, you will live in peace. When the body grows weaker, it is an invitation for the soul to grow stronger. When the world grows quieter, it is an opportunity for the inner voice to grow louder. But this happens only when you stop running outward and start walking inward. Remember this: the world does not define you in old age. Your career is behind you. Your children are independent. Your social circle is smaller. And that is not something to be sad about. That is freedom. That is life's way of telling you, now is the time for you. Now is the time to focus on yourself. If you miss this chance, you will spend your last years in restlessness. But if you accept this truth, you will spend your last years in bliss. So, my dear friends, take this message deeply into your heart. Old age is not for chasing the world, but for returning to yourself. Let this stage of life be a time of peace, reflection, love, and joy. Care for your body, nurture your mind, elevate your soul. Let go of regrets, stop chasing people, and release expectations. Focus on yourself, not in selfishness, but in wisdom. And when you do that, you will discover something extraordinary. The peace you always searched for outside has been within you all along. Old age is your golden chance to finally find it. And once you do, you will realize that this stage of life, far from being an ending, is actually the most beautiful beginning. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it is wisdom. Many people misunderstand this line. The moment they hear someone say, focus on yourself, they immediately think, oh, that means I should ignore my family, neglect my responsibilities, or only think about me. But the truth is, wisdom is very different from selfishness. Selfishness is when you live in such a way that your actions hurt others. Wisdom is when you live in such a way that your actions heal you, and in return they bless others as well. And in old age, this wisdom is essential. For decades, you may have lived for others. You worked hard for your children, sacrificed for your family, gave your time and energy to the world, and fulfilled your duties with all your strength. That is noble, that is beautiful. But now, in the later chapters of life, the balance has to shift. If you continue pouring from an empty cup, you will end up bitter, resentful, and drained. If you continue to sacrifice your peace for others' expectations, you will end up feeling used and unfulfilled. But when you choose to focus on yourself with wisdom, you begin to live in a way that gives peace to both you and the people around you. Imagine this: a candle that has almost burned out cannot light another candle. But a candle that protects its flame, that burns with steadiness, can spread light to many others. In the same way, if you let yourself burn out in old age, always worrying, always complaining, always trying to control others, you cannot bring light to anyone. But if you take care of your inner flame, if you nurture your body, calm your mind, and uplift your spirit, you will naturally radiate a light that comforts others without even trying. This is the difference between selfishness and wisdom. Focusing on yourself in old age means listening to your body. It means giving attention to your health, to your rest, to the simple joys that keep your spirit alive. How many elders spend their days only worrying about what their children are doing, or how society is changing, or how life is not the same anymore. And in that worry, they lose their peace. But when you focus on yourself with wisdom, you realize that the world will always change, children will always have their own journeys, society will always have new trends. What matters most is whether you have learned to live with yourself in peace. Because in the end, you are the one who will be with you until your last breath. Let us be very clear: focusing on yourself is not about becoming careless about others. It is about becoming more mindful about yourself so you can be a better presence for others. If you are constantly sick because you ignore your health, how can your family feel peace? If you are constantly angry because you refuse to let go of the past, how can your children learn joy? If you are constantly restless because you compare your life with others, how can anyone feel uplifted in your presence? On the other hand, if you focus on your health, if you practice gratitude, if you live with joy, you silently give a gift to everyone around you. You may not preach, but you teach by example. When people grow old, they often think their value lies in how much they can still do for others. But your greatest value now is not in doing, it is in being. Your children do not need you to work for them. They need your blessings. Your family does not need your control. They need your peace. And you can only give these gifts when you focus on yourself. Take time to walk in nature. Take time to read, to pray, to meditate. Take time to laugh, to sing, to smile at the small things. These are not selfish acts. These are wise acts that keep your heart light and your soul alive. And remember, focusing on yourself also means forgiving yourself. Many elders carry regrets into old age about mistakes they made, about words they said, about opportunities they missed. They carry this burden in their hearts for decades, and it steals their joy. But wisdom says what is gone is gone. You cannot go back and change it, but you can let go and live in peace. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and focus on the present moment. This is not selfishness, this is freedom. There is another misconception. Some people think focusing on yourself means cutting off from everyone, living in isolation. That is not wisdom either. True wisdom is balance. You don't have to abandon your family. You don't have to neglect love. You simply need to shift your priority inward. Be there for your loved ones, but don't lose yourself in them. Support your children, but don't control them. Care for your family, but don't sacrifice your health and peace endlessly. The balance is to love others while also loving yourself. To give others blessings while also giving yourself time. To walk with others, but also walk inward toward your own soul. When you focus on yourself with wisdom, you actually discover a new kind of joy. It is not the noisy joy of parties and possessions, but the quiet joy of peace and simplicity. It is the joy of waking up without rushing. The joy of watching a sunrise without checking the clock. The joy of sitting in prayer, of feeling gratitude for a breath, of sipping tea without worry. These small joys become treasures in old age, and they fill your heart in ways that nothing outside can. So, let us understand clearly, selfishness and wisdom are very different. Selfishness says, I will live for myself even if it hurts others. Wisdom says, I will care for myself, because in doing so I bless others too. Selfishness creates distance, wisdom creates harmony. Selfishness is loud, wisdom is silent. Selfishness drains, wisdom fills. And in old age, what you need most is wisdom. Wisdom to shift your focus inward, to give yourself peace, and through that peace, to give silent blessings to the world. Your children may not always listen to your words, but they will always feel your energy. If your energy is bitter, they will feel burdened. If your energy is peaceful, they will feel blessed. If your presence is restless, they will avoid it. If your presence is calm, they will seek it. That is why, in old age, the most powerful way to love your family is not to sacrifice more. It is to focus on yourself, to keep your heart light, and to live in wisdom. So let this truth sink deep. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, it is wisdom. And wisdom is the greatest gift of old age. Stop running after others' approval. Stop exhausting yourself trying to control what is no longer in your hands. Stop carrying regrets like chains. Instead, turn inward. Care for your body, nurture your mind, elevate your spirit. In doing so, you will discover the peace you always longed for, and without even trying, you will become a silent blessing to everyone around you. That is not selfish. That is the highest wisdom. Your legacy is not what you control, but what you radiate. This is one of the most misunderstood truths of old age. Throughout life, many people believe their worth is measured by how much they can control, their children's decisions, their family's behavior, their possessions, their career, their reputation. But as age advances, the ability to control begins to slip away. Children make their own choices, whether you like them or not. Society moves forward in ways you may not always agree with. Your body slows down, your energy changes, your circle of influence becomes smaller. If you try to hold on tightly to control during this stage, frustration is guaranteed. But if you shift your focus from control to radiance, from force to presence, then your old age becomes the most beautiful and powerful chapter of your life. Think about it. What do people truly remember about someone who has passed away? Do they remember every decision that person made for them? Do they remember the control, the orders, the demands? No, they remember how that person made them feel. They remember the warmth, the kindness, the wisdom, or sometimes sadly, the bitterness and complaints. This is why your real legacy is not the control you exercise, but the energy you radiate. And old age is the perfect time to become conscious of this. When you radiate peace, people feel safe around you. When you radiate joy, people feel uplifted in your presence. When you radiate calmness, your family feels comforted even without words. And when you radiate gratitude, you remind others of the simple blessings they often forget. But if you radiate only complaints, only bitterness, only negativity, that becomes your silent legacy too. Your children may not say it aloud, but they will carry that memory of you in their hearts. So the question is, what do you want to radiate in the final chapters of your life? Control is always temporary. Even the most powerful king could not control everything. Even the richest person could not take their wealth with them. Even the wisest teacher could not dictate every choice of their students. Control fades, but energy remains. What you radiate goes far beyond you. It touches people's hearts, it becomes part of their memory, and it influences how they live. That is why this stage of life is not about holding on, but about letting go, and in letting go, shining from within. Your legacy is written in your presence. If every time your children visit you, they see you angry, worried, or complaining, that becomes their memory of you. But if they see you smiling, calm, content, grateful, that memory will inspire them for the rest of their lives. The world doesn't need another elder who clings to control. It needs elders who radiate wisdom. The younger generation already faces enough noise, pressure, and restlessness. They need your calmness as a shelter, your joy as a reminder, your silence as a guide. That is your real contribution now. Radiance does not come from outside achievements. It comes from inner cultivation. If your mind is filled with grudges, your face will radiate bitterness. If your heart is filled with regret, your words will radiate sorrow. But if your mind is filled with peace and your heart with forgiveness, then your presence will radiate serenity. People will feel it without you even speaking. That is why spiritual growth is so important in old age. It is not just for your salvation. It is for the silent legacy you leave behind. Think of the great saints, the teachers, the guides in history. Their legacy was not in the control they exercised, but in the light they radiated. Some of them had no wealth, no family, no worldly power. Yet, centuries later, their names are remembered, their words are repeated, their presence is felt. Why? Because they radiated peace, compassion, wisdom. You may not be a saint, but you too can leave behind such a legacy in your own small world. The way you speak to your grandchildren, the way you react to life, the way you carry yourself every day, all of this is creating your legacy. Control creates fear. Radiance creates love. When you try to control others, they may obey out of duty, but their hearts feel heavy. When you radiate love and peace, people are drawn to you naturally. They come not because they have to, but because they want to. Isn't that the kind of presence you want to leave behind? A presence people seek, not avoid. A memory that warms their hearts, not one that burdens them. This is why shifting from control to radiance is the greatest wisdom of old age. And here is the beautiful part. Radiance does not require wealth, education, or position. It only requires choice. You can choose to be grateful instead of bitter. You can choose to smile instead of complain. You can choose to forgive instead of holding on. You can choose to enjoy small joys instead of chasing big things. Every such choice adds to the energy you radiate. Every such choice writes your legacy. The younger generation may not follow everything you say, but they will carry your energy with them. If you radiate peace, they will learn peace. If you radiate joy, they will learn joy. If you radiate faith, they will learn faith. That is your greatest influence, far beyond control. Your legacy will not be in the rules you set, but in the love you left behind. So, my dear friends, in old age, stop trying to control. Life has already shown you that nothing is permanent. Instead, focus on what is eternal, the love, the peace, the wisdom inside you. Cultivate these qualities so strongly that they shine through your presence. Let people feel blessed just by being around you. Let your smile become a memory, your kindness a lesson, your calmness an inheritance. That is the kind of legacy that never dies. In the end, ask yourself, do you want to be remembered for the control you tried to exercise or for the peace you radiated? Do you want to leave behind memories of anger or memories of love? Do you want your presence to be a burden or a blessing? The choice is yours. You may not control the world anymore, but you can always choose what you radiate. And in that choice lies the true power of old age. So let your legacy be peace, let it be joy, let it be wisdom. Let your life speak not through control, but through radiance. Because control dies with you, but radiance lives forever in the hearts of those you touched. And that, my dear friends, is the most powerful gift you can leave behind.